This is the 101st episode of the Effective Executive podcast and YouTube channel. And this week I want to talk about 4 barriers to successful business transformation. Now, when I first started putting this together, I had a list of probably 150 things, and I started to kind of group them and put an affinity diagram together in order to kind of get things organized. And just kind of came out with 4 things that are real barriers in my mind when I speak with organizations. And so the 4 are have to do with executives. The second is your transformation consists of what you do to people, and 3 is too much at once. Trying to do way too much. The 4th thing is no method for transformation. So let's start with executives. You know, Typically when I go into an organization, executives are hiring me to do something to a group. In other words, they're uh, they're not part of the process of business transformation. Um, then there's no transformation. Executives have to participate. They have to look at things differently. And you can, there's a combination of things that I do in order to do that, but a lot of it has to do with studying uh, customer in the organization and participating in at least the findings as a group of people go through and understand the system that's been put together. But you really can't, think about that. That was kind of the introduction to last episode that I did, the 100th episode, where I talked about at the beginning and put up a little saying from Albert Einstein, which basically boils down to, uh, you have to have a different mindset in order to change things. You can't change things with the current mindset that you have. So they have to be, executives need to be participants in any business transformation other than just managing it. They have to be able to look at things differently. They have to be able to absorb things differently. And for me, what I do specifically is develop their synthetic thinking skills so that they can think bigger. Rather than just their department or maybe things that they were taught in their business school. And most business schools, although some touch on it more than others, don't develop those synthetic thinking skills, and certainly not in your organization. And I think that's a hard thing to carry over. You may understand systems thinking or synthetic thinking from a fundamental book standpoint, but that's not the same as implementing it in your organization. That's one of the things that by virtue of business transformation, now you're live. It's not in a book. It's you have to be able to adapt and change your own thinking. So that's the first thing: is executives kind of thinking that they're exempt from it. Um, they come to it with my thinking is fine. Theirs, whoever they are, or theirs are, is messed up, and so it winds up being something that you do to people, which is the second thing. That transformation consists of what you do to a group of people or people in the organization, and really, what executives and management, support areas in management should be doing is not dictating, which is typically what they do. Oh, we're going to send the IT department in and they're going to transform the organization. Well, most of the problems I find are not IT problems, they're business problems. They're understanding the customer problems. And so when you're looking for an IT solution, that should be kind of at the end of the list. You have to get the regular parts of your system working better for customers first, manually, and then add in information technology later. And I've worked with many IT organizations, large ones, over the years, and I understand that may be their business, but I try to educate them on the fact that you have to start. You just can't come in and make IT make things go faster, and because now it's on a screen, it's got to be better before they make the business processes work well for customers. And really, that's to me what business transformation is all about. And workers along the same line, instead of support areas and management dictating to people that are typically the targets of business transformation, workers need to transform their own work. Now, they need the help ultimately of support areas, but they need to be the ones that make it work. There's a lot of learning that can go on in making decisions about your own work. You may say, well, I already knew that, as an executive or a manager, a support area, whatever, but that doesn't make any difference. If these are the people going to be working in the system, they've got to understand it. And so they have to go through this kind of learning process, and it can happen really quickly. I typically find that frontline people are a lot more adaptable and understanding of what's going on, and learning goes faster when they're not just being tasked with things, but they're not more than part, but they're designing their own work. And that requires the help of certain support areas and management. And this moves the learning along, because now you're going to have a system where, the frontline people really understand the work now. And then when they see something happen, you don't have to wait, and don't have to wait for a report to say that something's gone wrong. The people on the front line are going to feel it long before you get your report 3 months later. So you want that type of system that has that flexibility and adaptability. The third thing, trying to do too much at once, and this is, I've seen this so many times, and a lot of them are based in information technology, where we got to put a project together. Well, they jumped to project before design, in essence. And the design, when they do design, it has to do with, IT infrastructure. Well, that's what happened to the business transformation, doing the things that make the actual business better before you even bring in IT. So with the workers, or the area that you're trying to transform, and it's usually not an area. When you're talking about business transformation, you're talking about something very holistic, typically. Requires the workers to put together a small prototype, and this is the thing that, I don't know whether it's a rush or, IT had some success, or we read about some success or whatever, so it's got to work here. And nothing will annoy workers more than you bringing in IT without their, pulling for it for their work. And, what happens in these small prototypes is you can experiment, you can try new things out. You can help customers understand, hey, we're working with a group of customers, we're doing these types of things, we'd like your feedback. What do you think on this? And it becomes something very cool for workers to participate in. And I know worker input and participation, and that, because they don't get that, leads to worker turnover. You're going to get so much more participation from workers when they're making decisions about their own work and they're going through a process. Now, people have this expectation this will take years to do. Well, no, it can be done in I've done in large organizations, and much more quickly, obviously doing small prototypes first, but having them participate in it actually goes very quickly. Anywhere from 3 to 6 months, we'll have a working prototype, and you're going to be tweaking it from now into oblivion, so it becomes a very dynamic system that you're building. But you don't you don't want to blow up your whole system while you're trying to figure out new ways of doing business, in a business transformation. So it doesn't, it involves IT at some point. I think it's the thing that is most frustrating to me is, well, what went wrong with your last business transformation, or why are you bringing me in? Oh, well, it's because we did, IT said that we do this, or this firm, IT firm said, IT's at the end. you know, transform the business manually first to get the things correctly. Before there was IT, there's actually work done. And so then you start pulling in these things. And, one of the barriers you run into, and one of the reasons why you blow up your system, is because you have too many systems, IT systems out there that people have to draw different information from. And then the fourth thing is no method for transformation. Now, I'm not talking about project managers, lining up their Gantt charts for their checklist of, trying to hit dates and all that stuff. I'm talking about an actual transformation method for the organization to go through that's flexible, that can learn as your organization learns, and instead it's so haphazard. There's no actual learning going on. It's just people doing thing to people, and people who don't understand the work trying to, saying, oh well, this is just common sense, and meanwhile the people who actually do the work are like, okay, yeah, they don't understand what we do, and they're now going to put an IT system on top of it. Oh, we did it in another company. Well, it's not this company. Different customers, different processes, different management, different measures, all those things all play a role. So I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion here, which is, I have put together something called the 95 method, and it's step by step. And as I mentioned, it's with flexibility. In other words, it's, I think someone I worked with once said, it's a framework. It's that you have the freedom to work within that framework in order to build your business transformation, and it's laid out step by step. I've worked with many organizations on this, and no company that I've ever worked with, even within the same industry, comes out with the same outcome. Different customers, different processes. You're going to have something unique. I don't copy one from another. I don't say, well, this company did this, type of thing, which I'd never say anyway. But you aren't. I'm not copying what another company did. It's all customized to the way that your organization's been put together through the people that are actually driving the business transformation. And I start with a customer in study of the organization, trying to understand how customers interact. That helps refine the purpose and aim of the organization. It defines what the potential is for improvement within the organization. And it also identifies some of the barriers to good service. And, typically this is something I conduct with a group of people first, because, we want to see what the potential is over, let's say, a 2-week period, sometimes longer, but a lot of times it just takes a couple of weeks to do it, just to kind of get what the potential is. Is this worthy of, having someone, should I just be coaching them? Should I be on site? Those types of things. And it's something that helps you as you go through and do this customer in study, set priority on the things that are working and aren't working within the organization, and help you kind of get an idea of what the finished design looks like. And, in that, you're also going to identify a lot of the barriers within the organization, the barriers to good service to your customers. And it's typically it's going to be information technology is a barrier a lot of times. policies that you have. So and so can't do this, and they're on the front line, therefore they don't have access to this, and so there's a lot of barrier removal identification that's done in that initial evaluation. And then the next major step is we prototype the new system. We start putting together. We actually go through the process of trying things out. Different ideas are going to come up, and we want to do it on a small scale so we don't blow up the system and then slowly expand from there. But it's getting to a point of having a working prototype for your business transformation. And so anyway, that's how I approach it. I'm sure I know different organizations have different ways of doing it that are probably more complicated, but they also take more time and more money. And I don't think it has to take a ton of money in order to, you bring in some of the big consulting firms, they want to be there and then be there. My aim is to get in, give you what you need, get you started, and get out. Or if I'm going to be on site, that I'm working very expeditiously in order to move things along. And throughout this whole process, that means that executives are going to have to go through a business transformation, and I do some of I do all of the help with executives with regards to their synthetic thinking about their own organization, and not something they read in a book or a case study in business school. So that's what I wanted to cover this week, is the 4 barriers to successful business transformation, and hopefully gave you a few solutions associated with it. And that's what I wanted to cover. And remember, there's always a better way.